Say hi.
Hi everyone.
I'm emerging from behind our screen. Hi guys, welcome into Dinosaur Omelet Land. Hi, welcome. So tonight we're talking about where our little baby chickens come from, and more precisely the oviduct system, the tract where the egg is produced. It's actually kind of interesting stuff. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Christopher.
I'm Angela.
We are the Dinosaur Omelet people. We're located here in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where we raise a variety of delightful creatures such as our, what do they call them? Big quail, the Coturnix
The
quail.
Joe quail.
And Angela has her Silky program, right? Your Silkies, your Dino Puffs.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, stalk us on the Facebook. She has a group page called Dino Puffs, right?
Dino Puff Silkies.
Dino
It's
Puff
specific
Silkies.
to our area. But,
Specific to our area, but still you can do Dino Puffs. Oh, I'm wearing a hideous pink shirt. I didn't really see that. So welcome in, you guys. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the oviduct system, the assembly line of how the egg is formed. We do like educational stuff here every Thursday. I try to put out a video occasionally. Yeah, but we do educational stuff, and I like these more academic topics because I try to dumb them down. So if you guys are doing like homeschool stuff, hopefully this is understandable even for the younger kids. There might be some more technical things in this discussion,
mm-hmm.
but otherwise it should be approachable.
Yeah.
Do you have any fun stuff to add?
No, not really.
All right, I usually give like 4 or 5 minutes to see if anybody comes in here and meet them, and then we'll start. So let me give it a couple more minutes. Down in the description of these videos, guys, there's a big ton of PDF material, print material, like how-tos, instruction, like easy to read stuff. So if you're raising chickens or quail, those, what do you call them?
PDF.
Information, pamphlets, etc. They're
Yeah.
very helpful. I always say, go check these out down in the description. There's links to them. They're free. It's just a Google Drive link.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. This is the one I like the most because it teaches you how to raise quail, and you don't have to go online and take hours of classes and stuff. So it's a cheat sheet.
Yeah, and it has pretty much most of what people, need to know, want to know about raising them. So it's pretty
Correct.
thorough in a condensed way.
Yeah. So that's that. So anything else important? Oh, really important stuff here. Little public service announcement. This is not veterinary advice, so we do a lot of education and information on animals, animal care. But just keep everything tight and legal. It's not veterinary advice. We're not educating you on how to treat, care, or tend to your creatures. If you have a question about your animals, take them to your local preferred veterinarian specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As we work on our little homesteads and chicken patches, we get information and we learn as we go. We kind of can, decipher different maladies and problem solving in the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn.
Yep. Through personal experience, you learn a lot.
Yep. What else is going on? Let me click my iPad. All right, cool. So the oviduct assembly line, I have, what do you call this? A diagram. I always like to do diagrams when I do stuff like this. So I have a diagram over in the corner. I'll drag over here. So what is the oviduct system? I take these notes so I can keep myself on track. Hello there, viewer. Welcome in. Fun educational stuff here tonight. Chicken oviduct system, how the egg is manufactured inside of the bird. And we're just getting started. All right, the oviduct assembly line. Oviduct, ovary, duct, like a duct work, right? So we're going to be discussing that. Why this is important. So a lot of the nutritional problems we might have or health problems might be indicated in egg production. Would you tend to agree, Miss Angela?
Yeah. The condition of the completed egg can give you information on the health of the chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, but the information I'm going to give you tonight is not going to parlay into your ability to diagnose illnesses or anything like that.
It's just
it could be indicative.
To help you take note and notice these little things.
So yeah, we're going to take a look at that, learn how, and really have an information. Like the more you learn about these creatures, the better you can take care of them, and the more you understand about them, and the the more interesting they become. And this is actually a very interesting process. Everybody eats eggs, everybody has eggs, but they have no idea how they're made, what they come from. You know, people think brown eggs are healthier. Have you heard that? I've always heard that. I think it's because they equate it to wheat bread. Like white bread.
And like farm maybe.
Yeah.
And then they think of white as like sterile. Clean.
Yeah, so the egg color, of course, does not indicate anything about nutritional density.
Which that makes sense with the bread though, because there's the, you know, the white bread, the wheat bread, is people grow up with that.
Yeah, that's consumer mindset. So actually that's a good point. So if you go in the grocery store, you're going to see brown eggs, probably more money, with special packaging. They're organic. Well, okay, they're also brown. That doesn't mean anything. They're just brown, and we'll talk about that because the chicken has essentially a dye made from hemoglobin metabolism or blood, processes in the blood that produce these dyes in the uterus that are going to cover it in a dye before it leaves. Okay, but I'm going to get too detailed about that. So this doohickey, the oviduct, it's not a single part, it's a tract. In fact, maybe it's time to break out my what do you call it?
Diagram?
My diagram. Yeah. So, because it's easier with some visual. Hopefully this is seeable. And gosh, it's going to look like a bunch of scribbles, I guess, perhaps to you guys. But I'm going to explain everything. So the oviduct isn't just one little area of the egg production. It's the entire process, or this entire tract, which is made up of different subsections, right? It's a system made up of other little systems. Very interesting systems.
It's kind of like a mini factory.
Yes, indeed. It's a little mini factory. That's exactly correct. So the oviduct transforms a yolk into a complete egg, equipping it for embryonic survival, or of course, we like to eat them. And the completed egg is really fascinating. Did we do an egg video last week? Was it structure of the egg? Yes, it was. We did incubating eggs and the development of embryos.
Oh, right.
So the egg is actually very fascinating. We'll talk about some of the components of the egg that make it really a magnificent piece of nature. But let me introduce you to Mr. Oviduct system. Okay, this is in the hen.
Wouldn't it be Mrs.?
Oh yeah, I guess it would be Mrs. Oviduct system. This is in the hen. So I don't have my pointer stick. Do I have a pointer stick that'll work? So I'm going to use my hand. Entertain them with a story. Okay, you know, that's a great pointer stick. So our oviduct tract, squiggling down here, and plop, out comes an egg. First section, we're going to talk about the ovary. The ovary is where we have the oocysts, or the eggs, or the egg cells, okay? And it looks like a clump of grapes. I don't know if you guys have ever done butchering. Have you ever seen that when we butcher a critter?
I don't think I've seen it with you doing it.
I
but
see it all the time. Yeah, because we do quail. I butcher quail, and I see all the time this glump of yolks. It's a bunch of yolks. And they come in different sizes or different stages of growth in the ovary system. So the little teeny tiny eggs, and there's thousands of them, okay? Just like with a human. You're born with them and they're there for your lifetime. So there's thousands of these eggs, and they mature in the ovary. So the mature egg, or the mature ovum, in the ovary, guess what that is? Do you know?
Are you asking me?
Anybody.
The word that's sitting on
Yeah.
the yolk?
It's to make it interactive. So you can yeah, so there's the yolk. That's where the yolk is being formed, in the ovary. And once it's mature, once that ovum is mature, it plops down into the infundibulum. Infundibulum. That means to pour in. Like most of these, if you do scientific or medical nomenclature, words and names, they're usually Greek or Latin. So this one was Latin, infundibulum, and it means to pour in. And that's what's happening here. This yolk, once it's matured, it pours into the infundibulum, where it stays for not very long, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. And what's interesting is this is where the fertilization occurs. Fertilization. And if you remember last week, I wish I had a little marker with me.
It does make sense because it needs to be, the sperm needs to be able to get through,
Yes,
you know,
through
through
the
the yolk.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I had my pen or marker with me. I forgot to put this in here. So the yolk, every yolk has a little white disc. And you guys see that when you crack an egg. There's a little white splotch in the egg, and you're like, oh, it's fertilized. No, it's not always. If it's fertilized, that white spot will be there. If it's not fertilized, that white spot will be there. And what that is in the yolk is it's a collection of basically like stem cells. That's the cells that'll grow into a little baby chick, into the embryo. And the yolk actually supplies the nutrients, lipids, and some proteins for the growth of the embryo. Kind of like a tree seed, like a nut. You have that little spot where the green plops out of the embryo. That's actually called the embryo in the seed. Mm-hmm. And then it grows into the sprout.
I don't really remember what that looks like. I have not.
Well, a seed, you know, you have... Anyway, it's a very similar... Like when I was teaching my kids, it's similar to seed. Oh, hey, Tommy, what's going on, buddy? This is actually an interesting... I don't know, maybe you're a nerd like me. So anything that's new and like complex and makes sense, like... Once you learn it and it becomes, oh, that makes such intuitive sense and it's very elegant, you have a nerd out and you're like, oh, so cool. That's one of these things. So yeah, the mature ovum or the oocyst or the egg is actually the yolk, and they're always going to have a white disc present, which is the, what is it? It's the clump of cells that grow into a embryo. I have such brain damage from Lyme disease. Anyway, that's called the blastoderm. Yes, it's called a blastoderm. Or a blastodisc if it becomes fertilized. It's a blastodisc, a blastoderm. It's a little white spot. It's perfectly safe to eat, and it's present whether it's fertilized or not. So as we discussed, it drops down into the infundibulum, where fertilization takes place. Little cone kind of shape there. All right, so it's coming down here, and it's going to be traveling along this track. Now you're going to see this tubing here. What's that cool tubing called? That's peristaltic passage zone. Peristaltic means wave. It's you know, like in the intestines. It's a contracting tube. So does that look like it's contracting?
Yeah.
So the peristaltic passage zones are doing a few things. They're
so it's creating movement.
It's creating movement, and it's also timing things appropriately. So there's timing, and there's fluids also being introduced to the egg that's forming in this tract. Okay, peristaltic passage, moving down into the magnum. Now, what does magnum mean in Latin? Well, great, large, of course. And this is where the albumen layers are going to be applied. So what is albumen? You know what albumen is, yes?
It's proteins and something else.
Yeah, it's the
water.
whites. Whites, yeah, it's everybody calls them the whites of the egg. So when the egg is forming, there's two types of albumen. There's a thick albumen. Have you ever noticed that when you crack an egg, it's kind of watery, but then it's kind of thick, the whites?
So at the same time or in different eggs?
Same time.
Yeah. Like the watery stuff pours out a little faster, and then the thicker stuff kind of clings to the shell sometimes.
Go back to my last week video we did on egg structure. I have a little similar thing to this. But yeah, so in the magnum, this is where the albumen is being formed, and it's mostly water. It is protein, of course, as well. This is what is like 70% water. Anywho, you have a thick albumen, which is going to wrap around the yolk. Okay, that's
so
going to be
a cushion.
It's a cushion for the yolk. It protects the yolk. It's thicker. And then you have a thin albumen that goes around the thick albumen, and that's a little thinner. It's a little more waterier. Okay. Any notes I have about that that's important? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, not particularly. All right, so magnum, we have our albumen, or our whites, being introduced. And we're going down the peristaltic passage again, down to the isthmus. Isthmus. What is the isthmus? What does that mean in Latin? Because I like learning. Oh, this is Greek. This is Greek. This means narrow passage, the isthmus. So what's happening down here in isthmus? This is where the membranes are being applied. So when you do a boiled egg and you try to peel it, you get all that skin. That's a membrane. Yeah, that's the membrane. And everybody has a trick for boiling egg, like a chicken egg. Mm-hmm. So what do you think, kids? What's the best way to boil an egg? Is it add baking soda? Is it poke a hole in the air cell? Is it drop it in hot boiling water, or is it put it in cold water and let it
To
get
have
hot?
the result of an easy peel.
Easy peel. Is it old eggs peel better? I don't know. I have no clue.
There's
And I
lots of
really
input.
like, I mean, I would make deviled eggs all the time except for that peeling of egg issue.
Mm.
Because of the membranes, which are being applied in the isthmus. I have to incorporate that. That's my segue. Yeah, so down here, coming to the passage, it's going to be in the isthmus. How long is it sitting in there? It's not there too long. 1.5 hours or so, but 1.5 to 2 hours. Magnum, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, how long was that?
Sorry, yeah.
So this was like 15 minutes.
15 minutes, very brief. Down here in the Magnum, it's about 3 hours. 3 hours where it's going to be adding this albumen. So, you know, the chicken's gathering fluid and fluid out of its body and drinking fluid. It's fluid heavy piece of material right there. And by the way, this whole ordeal is very metabolically costly.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So this is very energy intensive. And what's interesting now is chickens, modern chickens, are selectively bred from their wild cousin many thousands of years ago, 9,000 years ago, to lay eggs. That's not natural for them. So naturally, birds are what's called clutch layers, like the ducks.
Mm-hmm.
How many eggs do they lay in a clutch?
Like around 20.
20. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of eggs.
It can be, yeah, it's usually around that.
That might be from domestication too.
Maybe. But then they stop and then they'll lay on it.
Yeah, so most of them are clutch. Wild birds are clutch layers because they can't really be laying every day. Down in the southern hemisphere, I talked about this before, the chickens are laying year round because the sun is consistent, whereas up here they're going to take a break if you don't supplement the lights.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so
natural. So they need to have plenty of food.
Yeah, it's an energy
support it.
intensive. Yeah, their diet's going to be different because of that. But you know, if you're using a decent food, they should be getting their protein, which is very important, lysine and methionine, which are called limiting amino acids. They're amino acids, and they're limiting because they limit the use of the other amino acids, which would otherwise be sufficient. Their needs may be met otherwise, except if the lysine and methionine is deficient, you're going to have problems with the eggs. You're going to get watery albumin and all kinds of problems. Bad feathers if it persists. Okay, so yeah, what was I asking about?
Oh yeah, so this overall process in a chicken is like, what was it, 24 to 26 hours to do, and then for a quail, it's a little bit less. It's like 18 to 20 hours.
It's a shorter. Well, they're faster animals.
Yeah, they're a little faster and smaller.
Yeah, but the quail anatomy is basically exactly the same, tinier.
Mm-hmm.
So blah blah blah. Yeah. So these animals were developed to lay eggs. So it's intensive and it's stressful for them. And something interesting about that, double yolks. Double yolks. Where did double yolks come from? They come from up here where the infundibulum, where the ovary is dropping mature ovums or yolks. So these animals are now pressured to lay eggs. It's not their ancestral design. They're selectively bred to do it. So sometimes they get a little wacky with their pursuit of egg laying, and they may drop double yolks, which happens occasionally. It happens in younger hens where they're right. It's more dominant in younger hens because they're getting active and their ovary is now functioning, and it should.
Yeah, and I think there are occasions where if you have a quail or a chicken that lays usually pretty large eggs, and she continues to do that, keeps the same size, then she may lay double yolkers for a lot of her life. Usually what happens is most of the just matured birds, quail and chickens, their eggs will start out smaller, and then as they mature and get like a little older, the eggs will get bigger. But sometimes, I think I see it more in our jumbo quail than I do in our chickens, but sometimes you might get one that lays like gigantic eggs, like as their first eggs, these poor birds, and then it'll go back down to normal size after a little bit.
The only thing with the double egg that gets me is I always wanted to do like mad scientist and see if I can get a two-headed chicken out of that.
It's not usually two-headed, it's usually two babies.
Two preemies, like underdeveloped.
Yeah, or there's a very low hatch rate with them because they're just the competition between the two, and yeah.
Plus I'm sure the gas exchange, because CO2 is building up in there and they're competing for the gas exchange coming from outside of the egg.
And then they're smaller, like you said, so then when it's hatch time, that can make them weaker, and just the whole process of getting out of the egg harder.
Yes, indeed. So anyway, that was a pretty big sidetrack. But yeah, so the chicken, our modern domesticated chicken, is bred to lay eggs. Their egg layers are food producers. So that's why you're sometimes seeing double yolks are a little more common. They're not clutch layers. They're laying every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did we talk about? We talked about isthmus. So this is where the outer membranes, there's actually two membranes. I don't get too technical, but the membranes, that protein, that wrapping paper that we hate when we try to peel boiled eggs, that's that membrane.
Mm-hmm.
And all these have a purpose. That's protecting the egg. It's keeping problems out. It's the chalaza, the anchor. There's that little white squiggly, that's the chalazae, and that anchors into the membrane, okay? And the membrane also forms the air cell. So there's an air cell in the egg, right? That little pocket of air at the top of the egg once it's formed. And that air cell is where the baby chicken, the baby embryo, breathes its first breaths.
Yeah, when it's hatching.
When it's hatching.
In that hatching process.
So if it didn't have that, it wouldn't be able to get out. It wouldn't have air.
Yeah.
So, and they don't spend a lot of time in there. They're like, it's time to hatch. I'm hatching.
Yeah, so their little head, they'll poke through that.
Oh, look at that. Tommy said, yes, we have a red hen that lays double yolks more than 50% of the time. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's probably, the layers, the ones that are specifically bred for high laying, they have a higher propensity for double yolks.
Yeah.
Propensity means like likelihood. I say these words sometimes, and if there's younger people watching. So there you go. There's a big word for the day.
So this stage, I don't know, did you mention it's like an hour and a half process? Did you mention that?
That's 3 hours. You're spending about...
No, this one.
Okay, you're right. I'm
3
sorry.
hours, and then this is an hour and a half. So 15 minutes.
I didn't memorize
3
times,
hours,
but yeah.
And an hour and a half.
Yeah, infundibulum. All right. 3 hours, hour and a half. Okay, sorry.
No, I just checked. That's all.
Where the membranes are being made. Now, what are the membranes doing? They also serve another function, actually. They're the protein lattice, or the structure for which the calcium shall be deposited upon to actually make that nice shell. The shell, yay, down here. So, it's been here for an hour and a half. It's going to pass down the peristaltic passage into the uterus, which has the shell gland. That little letter C, you see, kids? If you want to look smart in your elementary school, you write a C with a line over top of it, and that means width. I think that's from Latin, too. Or no, it was Greek. It's Greek. Anywho, don't quote me on that one. But yeah, so the egg is going into the shell gland, and this is where it's spending what? The most of the time?
Yeah, it's 20 to 21 hours for chickens.
Yep, this is where calcium's being deposited. And what's cool about the chicken with calcium? So, if you're good chicken keepers, you're using a feed that has sufficient calcium, or you're supplying calcium. Oyster shells, even the limestones. And what do they use? 2 to 4%?
For layers? No, it's usually like 3.5 to 4. Oh, did you say 2 to 4? Yeah, it's closer to 4%.
Closer to 4% of the feed is calciums.
Yeah.
Okay. So why is this important? Well, it's important because if you don't have enough, and there's a few things to know here. If you don't have enough, you're going to have weak shells, brittle shells. But also, if it's persistent and the chicken does not have calcium, now remember, they're laying all the time, plop, 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 every day. They're always making eggs, which means they're always trying to extract calcium. So what happens? What happens is, because these animals are very efficient and we're just magnificent creatures and biology is amazing, the animal starts extracting calcium from its skeletal system. And there is a reserve. They have bones in their body where calcium is specifically reserved for the development and use for egg, or it will extract calcium.
If they have a shortage in calcium with their diet.
Yes, but if they don't have calcium available. But yeah, make sure you get enough calcium.
You could end up with shellless eggs, and That's not good because there's a potential risk for it bursting. It could burst inside of her. But also in general, you want to have the whole shell. The shell, and then we're about to get to the next level, but there's a protective, element to having that shell, calcium over the egg, and then the last stage, which we'll talk about, that goes over the shell. So then there's no bacteria and such. So we want to eat their eggs.
Let me finish with this one. There's something else I
right.
forgot to mention. Sorry, I cut off the wife.
No, I was just I'm purposely not saying the other stuff, but
I'm running into that. So remember we were talking about brown eggs aren't actually healthier. They just look healthier. Well, where do they get the brown? They get the brown down here, up, down in the uterus or the shell gland. After the shells or the egg shell is put onto the lattice, the membrane, okay? The last part, they're going to add a dye, actually. It's a pigment. The pigment's made from, I think, hemoglobin metabolism. And why is that there, and where does that come from? Interesting story. Ding, ding, ding. Listen, this is really cool. So remember, where does the chicken come from? It comes from the red jungle fowl. Thousands of years ago, people started saying, yo, why don't we keep these like pets? And we'll like raise them and make eggs out of these things. And they're like, yeah, they suck. They laying eggs like 3 times a year. And they start breeding them. Oh, hey, look, my chicken over at Toomba's hut, his chicken's laying eggs 5 times a year. Oh, let's just breed his chicken. So, long story short, in that childish way, selective breeding occurred until he had consistent daily breeders. But there were some things that people desired and didn't desire, so they bred them in and out. And one of the things was egg color. Naturally, there was going to be egg color present because want to hide the eggs. So nature has camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, most wild birds tend to have a speckled color or some sort of pattern or overall color that helps disguise the eggs into the environment they're in.
Right. So the jungle fowl, it's the wild chicken. Its eggs are like a tannish color, but it was still a pigment that was being applied. Interesting thing, in Europe, the leghorns and the white egg layers were the ones that were preferred. It was just, I guess the eggs had a cleaner look. They were the preferred breed. I always think of like France and their wigs. So I think of France and its wigs. What would you go eat there? A brown egg that looks all dirty, or a nice white, clean, pristine egg? So they would eat the pristine eggs. And so the white eggs were popular.
How far back do you think that would be? Like the Victorian era? Like that decision with the white eggs?
Oh, I don't know. That's probably...
Because if it's far back enough, then...
I did not do historical...
I like the Victorian era.
egg breeding color. No, it had to be much before that. And you just
okay. Because the aristocrats, they had the white head wigs, like you said, but they avoided the sunlight as much as possible. They had all their umbrellas to stay out of the sun and prevent being tan, so that they would look more upper class.
Right, Tommy said. Right, the standard for egg color based on a particular taste. So they say. My favorites are the green or bluish eggs. I don't know what it is about them, but I love those. Yeah, I think they're pretty. People like this very popular thing with the quail people. I don't see it with the blues.
For the blues, but it's the Americana. There's different
they're
breeds that have.
My favorite egg as a kid was the robin egg.
Well, the blue and green are like natural soothing colors to us humans, which would make sense. I mean, outside it's the blue sky and the green foliage.
Yes.
And so that makes sense that you would like the green and blue. I also think they're pretty as well.
So the pigmentation's happening in here. With the brown eggs, it's a coating. With the blue eggs, it's actually permeated through the shell. It's not just an outside coating.
Oh, okay.
So if you scratch a brown egg, you'll see white. You'll see white underneath of it, and you can see that pretty easily. Mm-hmm. With the blue and green eggs, it's what do you call it? It's through the egg. It's saturated through the calcium.
Okay.
Cool.
So I wonder if it's the calcium, like as it's hardening or something, the process, like the saturation of it. Anyway.
I don't know. I didn't really look into, what do you call it? The pigments too much.
Yeah, and that's the same with the quail, the jumbo quail. they have speckled eggs, and you can like scratch it
Yes,
off.
and
So
the
'cause
colors come off.
those patterns are applied as Christopher explained close to the end. Interesting thing, if you didn't know, with the quail, the jumbo quail, their speckled eggs, their particular pattern is unique to the hen that lays it.
Yes, indeed.
So all of her eggs will look very, very similar. They won't look identical, but you could recognize a pattern and know, whether that hen was laying or not.
Yeah, like almost like a fingerprint. Or...
Yeah.
So if you guys have pet quail and you have 4 or 5 or 6, whatever, a small number, not 50 of them, then you can distinguish, oh, look, Henrietta laid an egg and Priscilla laid an egg. Those are the eggs they lay, if you learn which one is which.
Same with shape, but also the hue, the tone of the color, overall color as well. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, egg, shell, gland, calcium, I did that. Vagina, so that's where, so there's a vaginal opening and there's a cloaca. So this is where the bloom, the vaginal opening, is where bloom is applied. So that's, what is the bloom? The cuticle? What is that?
It's a clear coating that goes over the eggshell, and it's like 99% good at keeping bacteria out and keeping the fluids in, because the eggshell is porous, so gases and such can escape, but it's going to prevent contamination of the interior of the egg.
Quite right.
Yep.
Quite right, yeah, so the bloom's covering it, keeps bacteria out. It's really phenomenal. So that's why you can keep the eggs on the counter for weeks at a stretch, unrefrigerated. I think the Europeans do that. Like you go to the market and the eggs are sitting out, which makes sense. Here in the U.S., everything needs to go through some sterilization process. They wash them, then they spray them with a decontaminant. So they're always refrigerated, because if they were not refrigerated, they go bad.
Yeah, the washing, just even with water, is going to remove the bloom.
Yeah.
So.
Taking them out of a cold place into a warm place.
And
Condensation. So bloom on an egg, good. You can sit on the counter for weeks.
As long as your counter, your kitchen isn't super hot.
Yeah, the temperature, like between 55 and 65, I think, is optimal for just counter storage for your eggs, if they're not washed.
Just like any other food. Like if you have your bread sitting out and it's homemade, not store-bought, that stuff stays good for, unnatural amounts of time with all the preservatives in it. But natural made foods, if it's sitting out in room temperature, it'll start to deteriorate, or molds will start to grow quicker than if it's in a cooler area.
That's true. I make my own bread, so all the bread we eat I make from scratch, and it goes bad in like 3 days. It's normal. It's just
if
stale.
It's super warm.
Yeah, if it's sitting out on a counter, it'll get stale and get harder after like 3 days, and mold will start going after 4 days. Now, store-bought bread sits there for 35 years. It's perfectly fine.
It's very disturbing. So his bread is very, very good. The ingredients are healthy, and we know there's no chemicals and stuff in it. So it tastes great. So we just keep it in the refrigerator, and it stays good for a long time.
There's organisms. There's microorganisms everywhere. Speaking of which, I heard they found some microorganisms on Mars. I'm always hearing about the Mars microorganisms. I don't know about that, though. It's always this possible. We found possible. All right, anyway, blooms applied. Cloaca. I was telling Angela something very interesting. This is my favorite thing about this whole lesson. I didn't actually know this. I knew a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know this. Cloaca. That's the exit. So that's where the egg comes out, chicken poop comes out. That's the exit. Do you know what cloaca is? It's a Latin word. Do you know what the Latin word or like the English translation for cloaca is? This was fascinating. It's sewer. That's a true story. Sewer. Cloaca. I was telling Angela, I bet you back in the old scientific chicken days, the scientists were sitting around looking at this chicken going, all right, we named all the parts. What are we going to call this? Hey, let's call it the sewer. It's disgusting down there. It's a sewer. All right, well, we'll go with sewer, but let's do the Latin version. We're going to call it cloaca. It's Latin for sewer, and that's a true story. So that is the sewer, or the cloaca. And that's the exit. And so that's where your egg comes out. And hopefully you find your chicken eggs. Interesting stuff about the eggs. So I was talking about the calcium deposition or the depositing of calcium. So the little dude inside, the embryo, is extracting that calcium to form his own little baby skeleton. And about, I guess, 30% of that egg gets used for the structure of the skeleton.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Haven't you noticed how they're thin and weak when they come out of that hatcher? So the eggs are weaker, like the shells are thinner and weaker. And this is what's really cool because it serves two purposes. One, it's giving the chicken calcium it needs to grow. And then two, it makes the egg easier to crack out of because it's thinner and it's weaker. So interesting stuff. So the calcium deposit in there, good substantial amount gets used on the baby chick. So if you guys are hatching, this is actually interesting stuff to know about just for the hatch because all these components do come into play for the hatching. This is where the egg is being made in the oviduct system. So we'll go over again real quick. Ovary, that's a collection of the eggs, of the egg cells, and they range from teeny tiny microscopic to mature ovum, or basically a yolk. And again, if you have the opportunity, if you're doing butchering, you'll see a big patch of yellow goop, and then you'll see some what looks like yolks. It's because they're in different stages of development. And the chicken drops them down into the infundibulum, where it sits.
Yeah, so if you can imagine, when this egg, you get it in the morning, the other eggs are in the process going through.
Yeah, like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 24, 26-hour process. So that's why you're getting one egg a day or every day. Other day, you might like skip a day.
Yeah, so if it's a breed that's specific for laying production, she'll lay like 5 to 7 eggs. Some of them are really, really productive.
Okay.
A week, and then so she'll skip a day or two. It depends on the breed. Yeah.
Can I tell them a secret funny story of when I was putting eggs in the house? Angela has breeding or egg-laying chickens. Nobody's even in here, so nobody's going to care. I don't think anybody will hear this. But I'll tell if anybody's listening to this later. So a trick I was playing on Angela, because she was seeing how many eggs her new chickens were laying, is I snuck out after she collected eggs and put 5 more eggs back into the hen house to make it look like they were laying like 15 a day. Like
which didn't make any sense.
What was the point? I wanted to be like super chickens. Okay, cool. So again, I'm going to start over. Okay, this is, how far are we in here? So I can timestamp. It doesn't tell me. That's okay. I'll look it up later. We're going to go through this real quick, discuss it in a succinct manner, because we went through all this for about an hour. Ovary. This is where the collection of egg cells are in their various stages, from teeny tiny to mature and developed yolk, which will drop into the infundibulum. Infundibulum. Say it with me, everybody. Infundibulum. That means to pour in. So this is where fertilization occurs, and it holds the egg to go into the peristaltic passage. Peristaltic means this wave movement, wave function.
So it's about 15
muscular,
minutes.
kind of like when you swallow, that automatic swallowing, or it's like waving it down. Same thing here. So the peristaltic passages, these tubes that aren't these building areas, they're essential for the proper timing and also fluids being added. So we're coming from the infundibulum, going down the tube, into the magnum, this great area where the albumen is being added, the thick albumen and the thin albumen, the egg whites. Okay, they're in there for what, 3 hours? Is that the 3 hour one?
Yes.
Right. Magnum, albumen added, clickety, 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 down the passage into the isthmus. You don't really pronounce the TH. What does that mean in Latin? I always like to learn the etymology, which is the root of how words are written, or found, or used, and where they come from. Narrow passage. Isthmos, narrow passage. Anywho, this is the isthmus, and this is where membranes are going to be manufactured around the albumen, around the whites.
And that takes about an hour and a half.
Yep, an hour and a half. Not forever, but real short. And again, the membrane serves as the building lattice, like what the eggshell is going to form around, the protein lattice. So this egg with the membrane comes down here, into the uterus with the shell gland. Now, a lot of you guys, if you ever seen a shellless egg, it just has membrane. We've seen them. I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So no calcium is getting deposited on a shellless egg.
Yeah, so it is contained within the membrane. It's not this like goopy mess that comes out. It's just like a rubbery thing that comes out.
Yeah. Hey, Andy, what's going on, man? Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, so we're down here where the calcium is going to be deposited, and this is where it's spending the majority of the time. 20 hours, 21 hours, right?
Yes.
Long time. Also, if you have brown eggs or colored eggs, that's where the pigment's being applied, obviously, because the shell's being put together down there. Passes through the vaginal canal, vaginal opening, where the bloom or cuticle is applied. And remember what the bloom is. It's that protective coating on the outside of the egg that lets them sit out in nature and not get infected. Because if it did not have the bloom, microorganisms would compromise that egg. They would get in through the eggshell because the pores are big, and they would make the egg rot. It would go bad. It would kill the egg. It would be no good. Otherwise, they can sit for several weeks without going bad, without rotting, and being compromised. And but as they sit, because it is porous, water molecules are very, very tiny, and evaporation is going to occur. Whereas bacteria aren't getting in, there's still gas exchange and water evaporation happening, even with that bloom intact, which is supposed to happen. Okay, finally, cloaca, which was my favorite part of this whole thing because that is Latin for sewer, the end part of the chicken. So, and that's where the exit is for everything, and the egg comes out, and then you have a chicken egg. Yay!
Do you want to take a minute to mention about lash egg? I thought that'd be interesting.
You can talk about lash egg because it's kind of disgusting.
So
I don't think I need this anymore.
No, keep it here for a second. I think it's good. So a lash egg is something you may never experience. If you're ever on like chicken pages on the Facebook or something, backyard chickens, you'll see it. People freak out. It's pretty much what it looks like is like a rubbery meat-like mass that you find in like the nest box. It's like a mass of pus.
What is it?
It's like it's a mass of pus, slough tissue,
Slough.
slough, and sometimes trapped yolk or albumen that solidifies in the oviduct. So what it is, though, it's not an egg. Don't touch it with your bare hands if you can help it, because
it's a festering ball of disease.
Yeah, it's bacterial infection. And how do you say this word?
Dog.
Right here. This is
saphenditis.
Yes.
Saphenditis.
So it's a result of that. It's a severe inflammation of the oviduct. So the primary cause of a lash egg would be bacteria, and typically that would be in the sewer area, the cloaca. So if your nest boxes are dirty and she's laying in there, there's exposure when this egg is coming out. There's exposure to her in the lining of the inside while that egg is popping out. If she's touching, manure and just rotting or just messiness that's in that nest box, then that's an entryway for bacteria. So that bacteria is going to go up through this direction. It's not coming from the top, it's coming from the bottom because that's the entryway. So
it's causing infection throughout the system.
So that's the primary cause. The secondary cause would be a viral disease that something like infectious bronchitis or Newcastle that end up damaging the oviduct lining, and then because the lining is weakened, then that's another way that the bacteria can get in.
So basically this oviduct, I'm not even sure, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but I'm assuming the oviduct is still functioning and it's taking all that collected crap and forming because of the peristaltic passage movement, it's moving it into the egg shape, like the dead cells and the rot and the pussy. Yeah,
so what happens is the oviduct becomes inflamed, producing pus, and
oviduct.
How do you say this word here?
House? Fibrin, pussy fibrin.
Yeah, it's a protein involved in clotting. The oviduct is inflamed and creating pus. The hen's immune system walls off the infection, creating a solid lash mass. These masses can block the egg passageway, so it's kind of stopping things up
dangerous.
and severely impact the hen's health.
That can kill a chicken, I bet.
And then she would need, it's a bacterial infection. She's going to need medicines. You're going to want to, contact your vet and
Chicken
such.
vet.
But it's just an interesting thing. It has to do with the reproductive system. But that's why it is important, to keep your nest boxes and the spaces that they're laying in, just resting in, tidy and not gross.
Yes, indeed. Cool.
And it can be fatal. So it is very important, if you do see that, to take medical action for the hen. And again, if you do see it, you don't want to handle it with your bare hands if you can help it, because it is a gross mass of bacteria.
Bacteria and infection, yes.
You don't want to be touching your eyes.
Well, I guess you would handle that as much as you want to handle something some random dude coughed up. Well, I'm going to pass.
Yeah. Right.
I could never be a doctor. I couldn't deal with sick humans. Anyhow, I couldn't. Like, you're sick. Get out of my office.
It's your blunt. So
I wouldn't
anyway,
be able to do
that's that.
All right, cool. So this is very. Did you think this was interesting?
Yeah.
I'm like
It's
always.
very practical.
I'm really fascinated by nature. I'm hoping like you guys at home with kids, even if you don't show this to the kids, you learn it yourself so you can teach them. This is really what's cool about this, because the kids you can have a grasp or an understanding of some very complex stuff at its fundamental level, at the base level of function, which is what I'm kind of presenting here. Even there's like words you may not have been familiar with, okay? Even though that may be the case, it's still pretty basic, simple stuff to understand at that level. And then, of course, like with anything in biology, you can go 10 magnitudes of order deeper into this.
Mm-hmm. In each part.
Yeah, on each part to learn it even deeper. But I don't like to do that on these videos. That would be like an audience of like 30 people in the whole country. Hardcore chicken people.
There'd be people interested in birds in general.
Well, you got this. So the thing about marketing, business, like all this stuff, you have to know your audience. So once you're at that level of particular chicken biology, A, you gotta have chicken nerds. B, you gotta have chicken nerds with nothing better to do. Well, I don't know if chicken nerds have anything better to do. C, they gotta find it interesting enough to want to watch. D, they have to be a chicken nerd who doesn't already know it. It's too particular of a niche market, man.
It is pretty particular, yes.
Yeah, so we do a general overview. But this is neat stuff. Like I said, if you have chickens or you do butchering, I know it sounds kind of gross, but if the kids are a little older and they can handle it, it's really fantastic to do, dissection, to learn the anatomy firsthand. Because a lot of the anatomical parts are visible during the butcher time.
Mm-hmm. And you can see
Digestive tract, heart, lungs, all that stuff is pretty
You can
visible.
start to see if there were any organ issues or developmental issues or things, because you become familiar with how they're supposed to look inside, and then can learn like, oh, that's why my quail hen just stopped living when I found her this way, or that's why she laid this certain type of egg, or whatever her energy, like sometimes there's malfunctions in our organs. And
should do that. Chicken pathophysiology for kids. Let's learn about all the. So yeah, there we go. Cool. Let me move this thing out of the way, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. Oh, it's trash night again. Oh, really cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was another one of these. Like the people who watch this actually want to learn this kind of stuff. Good for you, because it's kind of rare. Most people are like, I want to be entertained, I want to hear chicken stories and talk about nonsense, which is fine. But yeah, this stuff is beneficial information, I think.
Yeah.
Did you learn something?
Mm-hmm.
We all learned something, yay. So yeah, cool. I mean, that's that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that was interesting and educational. If you guys have any thoughts or questions about it, feel free to drop them in the comments, and we're happy to answer.
Yeah, any requests for future stuff, let me know. Thank you for coming in, Tommy and gang. And I think that'll do it. I have to walk behind this video to push off. But yeah, cool. I don't have this diagram in my free stuff at the bottom of this video. But I think I'm going to draw this one because it's good to have.
Mm-hmm.
I like drawing this stuff. I like doing this. So I think I'll do a like cartoon version of this. Put in there. All right, everybody, have a happy, fabulous night on this Thursday. Spread this around, share it, like, share. What's the other one? Subscribe. And
Yeah,
we'll see you later. I gotta go behind.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.